The alien soldier's ship glided silently through the blackness of space, its silver hull reflecting distant stars. Its pilot, known among his people as Varkesh, had seen hundreds of battlefields. He had fought on worlds where entire civilizations were crushed in days, where resistance was meaningless against his species' superior technology. To him, war was orderly, precise, and predictable. Varkesh had been assigned a new mission, one that seemed routine at first. He was to observe a human-inhabited planet, study their military systems, and report back on their capabilities. Simple. Easy. Humans, according to intelligence reports, were primitive. Their technology was rudimentary, their armies small, their weapons weak. He expected little more than a minor distraction. Yet, as his ship pierced the planet's atmosphere, Varkesh felt a strange tension. He could not explain it. Humans, from afar, had always seemed fragile, almost comical compared to his kind. But something about the planet, its chaotic storms, the uneven landscapes, and the signs of conflict below made his sensors spike. From high above, the city sprawled across the valley like a patchwork quilt. Smoke rose from buildings and blackened ruins. Despite the damage, there was life. Tiny figures moved between shattered walls. They were not fleeing in panic. They were organizing. Varkesh's sensors tracked clusters of human soldiers. They were poorly armored, some carrying improvised weapons, yet they moved with discipline and purpose. "This will be easy," he murmured to himself. Yet even as he spoke, a shiver ran down his neural spine, a warning that perhaps this mission was not as simple as it seemed. Varkesh descended to a ridge overlooking a narrow valley where humans had set up defensive positions. He watched quietly, recording every movement. A group of soldiers dug trenches, while others positioned themselves behind rubble. They whispered to one another in a language he did not understand, yet the rhythm of their actions was strangely harmonious. Suddenly, a scout vehicle, a crude human machine, almost laughable in its construction, rolled into the open. It carried 3 soldiers, lightly armed. Varkesh raised his observation lens, expecting them to be destroyed in seconds by his automated patrol drones. But they did not panic. They darted between cover, laying traps and using the terrain to their advantage. One of the soldiers, a young man, no more than 20, Varkesh estimated, climbed a ridge and signaled to the others. Within moments, the human squad led a small alien drone into a trap. When the device fell into a pit concealed with branches, it exploded harmlessly to the humans but sent sensors screaming alerts to Varkesh. "They are clever," he whispered, almost inaudibly. His species prided themselves on superior intellect, yet he could not deny it. These humans were unpredictable. They did not follow logic as he knew it. They followed something else, something instinctual, something dangerous. Varkesh activated his comms and spoke in the Universal Military Protocol. "Unit report. Engagement results." There was a pause, then a crackling response from his fleet. The humans had survived a first encounter that his technology had assured would destroy them. He studied the human soldiers further. They moved not as machines, but as a living organism. If one fell, another immediately adapted. If one panicked, others compensated. There was no leader visible, yet the group functioned as a single unit. Varkesh adjusted his sensors to focus on the young soldier, who seemed to carry a quiet confidence. This soldier's face, grimy and streaked with sweat, betrayed no fear. He ducked under a fallen beam, pulled a simple grenade from his pack, and threw it with perfect timing. The explosion disabled another alien probe, and the humans cheered softly. Varkesh felt a strange stirring within him. He had seen thousands of soldiers die in battle, but this was different. These humans fought with a spirit he could not understand. Varkesh decided to descend further, to observe closer. He landed his ship in a shadowed ravine and cloaked it with a special energy field. From here, he could watch without being seen. Hours passed. The humans moved through the ruined city, gathering supplies, fortifying their positions, and sometimes disappearing entirely into tunnels or side streets. Varkesh noted their improvisation. Broken vehicles became barriers. Rubble became strategic high points. Even their weapons, rusted rifles, homemade explosives, sharpened tools, were used with deadly efficiency. Night fell. Varkesh observed a small fire in the middle of the valley. Humans gathered around it, speaking softly. Some tended to the wounded. Others cleaned their weapons. Some laughed quietly, sharing small stories. Varkesh tilted his head, confused by the display. Even under siege, they showed care for each other, kindness, and camaraderie. His species had never required such emotion in war. Compassion was weakness. Yet here, it made the humans stronger. Suddenly, a low hum reached him. Alien patrol drones were moving closer, and humans seemed aware of them long before sensors should have detected them. They did not panic. Instead, they set an ambush. Varkesh watched in awe as humans, with nothing more than shouts and gestures, coordinated a defense. When the drones attacked, wires and debris triggered unexpected explosions. One by one, the drones were destroyed. Varkesh's neural processors raced. These creatures, primitive, fragile, inferior, had survived against superior technology not through armor or weapons, but through courage, creativity, and sheer willpower. He remembered battles he had fought on countless worlds. Soldiers with perfect technology had crumbled when faced with a determined enemy. Yet he had never seen a species so small, so physically weak, turn the tide through ingenuity alone. As the night deepened, Varkesh felt a strange sense of respect growing. These humans were not mere obstacles. They were something else entirely, something terrifying in its unpredictability. In the early hours of dawn, a new sound reached him. Sirens, explosions, shouting. A larger alien force had arrived, attempting to crush the human defenders. Varkesh activated his comms again, expecting chaos, expecting humans to scatter. But they did not. He saw the young soldier, the one from earlier, rally his comrades. They set up defensive positions in abandoned buildings, turned narrow alleys into choke points, and even used captured alien weapons against their attackers. Every move was calculated yet daring, reckless yet precise. Varkesh felt a strange kinship forming, an acknowledgement that these humans, small and fragile as they were, possessed a spirit his species often lacked. As drones fell and alarms blared, he realized that these humans were not only survivors, they were warriors in a way he had never imagined. Hours passed in a blur of movement, gunfire, and explosions. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, yet they held their ground. Varkesh found himself analyzing their decisions, predicting their next moves, and realizing he could not anticipate them fully. Every human choice seemed random, yet it carried purpose. They thrived in chaos. By nightfall, the alien patrols had retreated, damaged and confused. The human survivors regrouped, tending to their wounded and sharing quiet moments around small fires. Varkesh, hidden in the shadows, felt an unfamiliar emotion, admiration, tinged with fear. He realized the truth. Humans were terrifying in the way they fought. Not because of technology, not because of strength, but because of their heart, their will, and their unpredictability. As he recorded his observations, he added a note he never thought he would write. Underestimation of humans is fatal. They are fragile, yes, but their courage, creativity, and unity make them more formidable than any species I have faced. Their warfare is not just physical, it is psychological, emotional, and relentless. I do not know if they can be defeated. Varkesh's report would not only surprise his superiors, it might change the entire perception of humanity across the galaxy. But for now, he simply watched. He watched as humans laughed softly, cleaned their weapons, and prepared for the next day's fight. He had come expecting an easy mission, a routine observation. Instead, he found himself humbled, terrified, and in awe of the species he had been sent to study. The first day ended not with victory or defeat, but with understanding. Varkesh realized he was witnessing something rare, the raw, terrifying brilliance of human warfare. And he knew this was only the beginning. The morning sun rose slowly over the broken city, casting long shadows across shattered buildings and scorched streets. Varkesh, the alien observer, remained hidden atop a ruined tower, his eyes scanning the humans below. After the events of the previous night, he no longer saw them as weak or disorganized. Instead, he saw determination, courage, and something he could not fully understand: an indomitable spirit. The humans had survived against impossible odds, outmaneuvering alien drones with nothing but ingenuity, teamwork, and willpower. For Varkesh, this was an unfamiliar battlefield. His species had always relied on precision, technology, and order. Chaos was their enemy. Yet here, chaos seemed to empower humans, making them unpredictable and dangerous. Varkesh adjusted his cloaking sensors and descended closer to the human encampment. From a safe distance, he observed them preparing for another confrontation. Supplies were being sorted, weapons repaired, and new defensive positions established. The humans moved with quiet efficiency, communicating through gestures, short words, and signals only they seemed to understand. One soldier, the young man Varkesh had noticed before, stood out. His eyes were alert, scanning every corner. His hands were steady as he checked the condition of his rifle, and his movements were precise yet fluid. Varkesh noted how the soldier did not panic, even when an explosion shook the nearby buildings. Instead, he remained calm, giving orders to others and guiding them to safety. Varkesh's sensors picked up signs of another approaching alien patrol. This time, the fleet sent a small strike team, heavily armored and well-equipped. Varkesh watched silently as the humans assessed the threat. Without hesitation, they split into small squads, taking positions along the rooftops, narrow alleys, and barricaded streets. The alien strike team moved forward, confident in their superior weapons and armor. They expected humans to scatter or surrender, but instead, the humans waited. They had no advanced shields or energy weapons, yet they had something far more powerful: strategy. As the aliens advanced, humans unleashed their trap. Rocks, debris, and improvised explosives fell from hidden positions. Some soldiers rolled barrels filled with flammable chemicals into the path of the armored enemies, setting them ablaze. The young soldier led his team through the chaos, using narrow streets to force the aliens into bottlenecks. Varkesh tilted his head in surprise. The humans' tactics were bold, risky, and brilliant. Every move seemed spontaneous, yet it achieved maximum effect. They were not just surviving, they were teaching their enemies a lesson in unpredictability. During the battle, one human soldier tripped over a piece of rubble and fell into the street. An alien would have finished him immediately. Yet the others reacted without hesitation. A teammate dived into the street, pulled him behind cover, and continued fighting. Varkesh recorded this carefully. The humans' ability to protect one another, even under fire, added a layer of strength his species had never valued. Hours passed, smoke filled the air, shouts and explosions echoed through the streets. Yet the humans never gave up. They improvised new weapons, turned broken vehicles into barricades, and even used alien weapons against their attackers after a few clever adjustments. The young soldier led from the front, inspiring those around him with his courage. Varkesh felt a strange emotion rising inside him, something his species considered weak: respect. He had been trained to see war as mechanical, to value efficiency over morale. Yet humans fought with heart. Their courage, ingenuity, and willingness to risk everything made them unpredictable. They were terrifying, but in a way he admired. As the battle continued, Varkesh noticed something else. Humans were learning. Each attack from the aliens was met with an improved response. They adapted, modified their strategies, and exploited weaknesses in the enemy formation. Where his species relied on strict orders and predictable patterns, humans thrived on flexibility. Varkesh realized that the young soldier was teaching the others as they fought. Through gestures, brief commands, and quick corrections, he guided his comrades. Each human learned from every encounter, becoming more skilled, more confident, and more dangerous. By midday, the alien strike team had suffered heavy losses. They retreated in disarray, leaving the humans victorious. For now. The human soldiers did not celebrate loudly. Instead, they tended to the wounded, checked their weapons, and prepared for the next engagement. Varkesh observed in fascination. Their focus on survival and preparation rather than glory made them far more effective than he had ever expected. Later, Varkesh decided to move closer. He cloaked himself and approached the young soldier, curious about his leadership and bravery. From a hidden vantage point, he watched the soldier coordinate the evacuation of civilians from a damaged district. The humans worked together seamlessly, protecting those who could not fight and ensuring no one was left behind. Varkesh had never seen such moral courage in battle. His species considered civilians secondary in warfare, resources to be protected or exploited. But humans placed the lives of others above their own safety. They were not just warriors, they were guardians. As night fell, the young soldier gathered his team around a small fire. Varkesh, hidden in the shadows, watched them share stories, comfort one another, and prepare for the next day. There was laughter, quiet songs, and moments of reflection. Even in the middle of war, humans found ways to maintain hope. Varkesh recorded everything meticulously. His report would not just describe their fighting ability, but also their humanity. He realized that humans' greatest weapon was not their rifles or explosives, but their courage, their spirit, and their unbreakable will. The next day brought a new challenge. A larger alien force arrived, determined to crush the human resistance once and for all. Varkesh activated his sensors and tracked the movement of both sides. The humans were outnumbered, outgunned, and vastly inferior in technology. Yet they did not panic. They analyzed the terrain, set traps, and coordinated their defenses with precision. Varkesh watched the young soldier make decisions that no computer could predict. He positioned snipers on rooftops, redirected small squads to flank enemies, and used tunnels to move soldiers undetected. Every decision was risky, yet every risk paid off. The aliens, despite their advanced weapons, struggled to adapt. Humans exploited their rigid formations, using the terrain and their creativity to turn the battlefield in their favor. During the battle, Varkesh saw something remarkable. One human soldier, wounded and bleeding, refused to abandon a fallen comrade. He lifted the soldier onto his back and carried him to safety, dodging enemy fire. Other humans noticed and followed suit, creating a chain of protection that allowed all the wounded to escape. Varkesh could not calculate the value of such courage. It was beyond algorithms and strategy. By evening, the alien force had suffered significant losses. The humans held their ground, and the young soldier's team emerged largely unscathed. They had survived another encounter that should have destroyed them. Varkesh, hidden and observing, felt a deep sense of awe. These humans were extraordinary, not because of their weapons or numbers, but because of their heart, their spirit, and their refusal to surrender. That night, Varkesh approached the humans more closely than before. He remained cloaked but watched the young soldier instruct others in repairing weapons and reinforcing defenses. The humans moved with a rhythm that seemed almost instinctual. They improvised solutions to problems on the spot, turning scarcity into advantage. Varkesh recorded everything, fascinated by their ability to learn and adapt. He had fought thousands of battles, yet he had never seen a species respond to danger with such creativity. The humans' courage was not reckless. They calculated risks, adapted quickly, and supported one another. Each battle made them stronger, smarter, and more dangerous. He thought about his own species, trained to rely on order and precision. In comparison, humans were unpredictable and chaotic, yet they thrived in that chaos. Their flexibility and resourcefulness made them formidable opponents. Varkesh realized that if his species underestimated humans, it could be catastrophic. As dawn approached, Varkesh reflected on what he had learned. Humans were terrifying, not because of their weapons or size, but because of their courage, their ingenuity, and their willingness to fight for one another. They were more than soldiers. They were warriors in the truest sense, guided by heart, spirit, and determination. He wrote in his record, "Human warfare defies conventional analysis. Their strength lies in adaptability, courage, and unity. They learn from every encounter and exploit chaos as advantage. They are unpredictable, resourceful, and morally driven. Any force that underestimates them does so at its own peril." Varkesh realized that his mission had changed. He was no longer just an observer. He was a witness to something extraordinary, a species that thrived in adversity, fought with heart, and inspired awe even in those who considered themselves superior. The young soldier looked toward the horizon, scanning for new threats. Varkesh watched, hidden but attentive. He knew the humans were preparing for the battles ahead, stronger and more determined than ever. And he understood, with a clarity that unsettled him, that these beings would not be defeated easily. For the first time in his long career, Varkesh felt a strange mixture of fear and admiration. Fear of what humans could achieve, admiration for their courage, and awe at their unbreakable spirit. He realized that his people's concept of superiority might not hold against these unpredictable warriors. As night fell once more, the city lay quiet for a moment. Fires smoldered, and the humans rested, regrouped, and healed. Varkesh recorded the scene, knowing it would be a critical part of his report. Humanity was not merely surviving, they were learning, adapting, and growing stronger with each challenge. And Varkesh knew, deep in his consciousness, that the human spirit was something no weapon could ever destroy. The morning sky was streaked with gray as the humans prepared for the day ahead. The city, though damaged and scarred from previous battles, had become a symbol of resistance. Fires had burned out, rubble had been partially cleared, and barricades reinforced. The young soldier, still alert and commanding, moved among his team, checking weapons and morale. Varkesh observed from a hidden position, his sensors active but his mind racing. The previous encounters had already challenged his assumptions. Humans were clever, courageous, and resourceful, but now he would witness their full capacity in a decisive battle. Intelligence from his fleet indicated that the alien command had assembled a larger strike force, intending to crush human resistance once and for all. Varkesh, despite his loyalty to his own species, felt a ripple of unease. He knew humans were ready to face overwhelming odds, but he had never seen such determination directed at an enemy vastly stronger than themselves. As the first alien ships entered the planet's atmosphere, the humans mobilized swiftly. They were not panicked or hesitant. They were prepared. Every soldier had a role. The young leader's voice carried across the defensive positions, giving concise instructions that seemed to synchronize with instinct rather than rigid training. Varkesh noted the cleverness of their strategy. Humans split into multiple squads, some positioned in buildings, others along rooftops, while a few moved into tunnels and underground passages. Improvised sensors and tripwires were set up to detect alien movements. Broken vehicles, debris, and rubble were transformed into deadly traps. The humans had turned the ruined city into a fortress, a place where numbers and technology mattered less than ingenuity and courage. The alien strike force advanced with confidence. Their armor glinted in the morning light, their weapons were powerful, and their ranks disciplined. They expected a swift victory, but the humans did not act as expected. The young soldier had studied their enemies' patterns from previous encounters. He knew that alien forces relied on coordination, rigid formations, and predictable logic. Humans, in contrast, thrived in unpredictability. The first clash erupted suddenly. Humans ambushed a squad of alien soldiers, using narrow streets and improvised barricades to their advantage. Explosives set in hidden positions detonated with perfect timing, disabling advanced alien vehicles. Humans moved swiftly, striking, retreating, and striking again before the aliens could recover. Varkesh watched, fascinated. The humans' ability to read the battlefield, adapt in real time, and exploit weaknesses was unlike anything he had encountered. He noted how every soldier played multiple roles: fighter, scout, medic, and trap setter, changing functions seamlessly as the battle progressed. During the chaos, a human soldier spotted a small group of civilians trapped in a collapsing building. Without hesitation, he ran into danger, dodging alien fire and debris. Others followed, forming a protective shield around the civilians as they were guided to safety. Varkesh observed silently, recording every detail. Compassion and bravery, he realized, were intertwined in human warfare. They were not just fighting for victory, they were fighting for one another. The young soldier led a small squad to flank a group of alien attackers. They moved through narrow alleys using shadows and debris for cover. One soldier improvised a weapon from a broken energy panel, using it to disable an alien drone. Another threw a makeshift explosive into the path of advancing enemies, sending them scattering. Every action was calculated, yet improvisation played a crucial role. Varkesh felt a growing admiration and unease. Humans were not merely surviving, they were actively turning the tide. He had trained for countless battles, yet he could not predict their next moves. They were flexible, intelligent, and fearless. They thrived where his species relied on rules and order. As the battle intensified, the alien forces attempted a coordinated strike, deploying aerial units to bombard the human positions. But the humans anticipated this. Teams moved civilians and wounded to underground shelters while others created smokescreens, false targets, and traps. The aliens' advanced sensors were confused by the chaos. Where technology should have dominated, human creativity prevailed. Varkesh observed a pivotal moment. The young soldier noticed a squad of alien forces attempting to breach a critical junction. He signaled silently to his team. A coordinated counterattack followed. Humans moved in waves, striking from unexpected angles, using makeshift weapons alongside scavenged alien devices. The aliens faltered, disoriented by the humans' ingenuity and relentless determination. During the melee, Varkesh noticed one human soldier standing alone against overwhelming odds, holding his ground to protect others retreating to safety. Bullets and energy blasts streaked past, yet the soldier did not flinch. Varkesh, despite his training, recognized the courage required for such a choice. No algorithm, no tactic, could predict or replicate this level of resolve. By midday, the tide of battle began to shift. The humans, though outnumbered, had inflicted heavy losses on the alien forces. Their improvisation, teamwork, and moral courage made them far more formidable than intelligence reports had suggested. Varkesh's initial assumption that humans were weak was shattered. He recorded a note in his log. Human courage and ingenuity defy conventional understanding. They fight not only with weapons but with heart, will, and the capacity to protect others. Their warfare cannot be reduced to numbers or technology. They are unpredictable, adaptive, and morally guided. Any species underestimating them risks catastrophic failure. The battle continued into the afternoon. The alien forces regrouped, attempting to strike at the humans' flanks. But the young soldier anticipated the move. Using signals and gestures, he directed squads to intercept, set traps, and exploit vulnerabilities. Broken buildings became strategic choke points. Narrow alleys funneled alien forces into ambushes. Even improvised weapons were used with deadly efficiency. Varkesh, observing closely, began to feel a sense of disbelief. In his species' history, no army had turned superior technology against itself so effectively. Humans had no advanced armor, no energy shields, and no massive vehicles. Yet they fought as if the battlefield itself was an ally. The turning point came when the young soldier identified the alien commander's position. With a small elite team, he launched a daring strike. They moved stealthily, using the chaos of the larger battle as cover. One by one, they disabled communications, eliminated key targets, and disrupted the enemy's coordination. The aliens, despite their superior training, were caught off guard. Varkesh felt a mixture of fear and admiration. The humans' audacity, combined with their intelligence and moral courage, made them terrifying opponents. They did not fight with rigid tactics. They adapted, learned, and improvised. They thrived in adversity, turning weakness into strength. By evening, the alien forces had suffered significant casualties and were forced to retreat. The humans held their ground, though exhausted and battered. Fires still burned, buildings remained damaged, and the air was thick with smoke. Yet the human soldiers were alive, their spirits unbroken. Varkesh observed the aftermath. Humans tended to their wounded, repaired weapons and reinforced defenses. Despite fatigue and loss, they laughed quietly, shared stories, and comforted one another. Even in victory, their focus remained on survival and the protection of others. He realized that human warfare was not about destruction alone. It was about resilience, compassion, and the willingness to fight for a cause greater than oneself. They were not merely soldiers, they were guardians, inventors, and leaders in one. That night, Varkesh approached closer than ever before, remaining cloaked but able to witness their planning. The young soldier instructed his team on repairing weapons, setting new traps, and preparing for future attacks. Every decision was deliberate, yet flexible. They learned from previous battles, adapted their strategies, and improved continuously. Varkesh wrote in his record, "Human adaptation is remarkable. Each encounter strengthens them. They learn quickly, improvise effectively, and fight not just for survival but for ideals and comrades. Their courage is calculated yet spontaneous. Their ingenuity is amplified by unity and moral resolve. No enemy has yet faced such a combination of heart and intellect." As dawn approached, Varkesh reflected on his mission. He had been sent to observe, to report, to confirm the inferiority of humans. Instead, he had discovered a species capable of inspiring awe and fear simultaneously. Their warfare was not only physical, it was emotional, strategic, and unpredictable. He realized that his report would change the perception of humans across the galaxy. To his superiors, they might seem fragile and insignificant. But Varkesh now knew the truth. Humans were extraordinary. Their strength lay not in technology, not in numbers, but in courage, adaptability, and moral fortitude. The young soldier, standing atop a rubble-strewn street, looked toward the horizon, scanning for new threats. Varkesh, hidden in the shadows, recognized something profound. These humans, fragile as they seemed, would not yield easily. They had learned, adapted, and triumphed against superior forces. Their spirit was unbreakable. Varkesh felt a mixture of respect and unease. Humans were terrifying, not because of size or weaponry, but because of their heart, their ingenuity, and their moral courage. No algorithm, no tactic, no superior technology could fully predict or counter them. As the city settled into uneasy calm, Varkesh recorded his final thoughts for the day. Humans fight in ways that defy expectation. They combine intelligence, adaptability, and moral courage in a manner unmatched by any species I have studied. Their ability to survive, protect others, and turn disadvantage into strength makes them formidable beyond calculation. Any force underestimating them will suffer grave consequences. They are terrifying warriors, not for their weapons, but for their spirit. For the first time in his career, Varkesh questioned the supremacy of his own species. He had witnessed battlefield brilliance in humans, and he knew that the war was far from over. But he also knew that these humans, resilient and courageous, would not be defeated easily. And as night descended on the city, he understood fully. The terrifying reality of human warfare was not their strength alone. It was their heart, their mind, and their unyielding will to fight, no matter the odds. The city lay in quiet ruin under the pale light of dawn. Smoke rose from crumbled buildings, and scorched earth still marked the paths of recent battles. Yet amidst the destruction, there was life. Humans moved with purpose, repairing defenses, tending to the wounded, and clearing rubble. Their eyes held determination, and their faces were etched with fatigue, but not despair. Varkesh observed from a hidden vantage point, his cloaked form blending into the ruins. For days he had watched humans fight, adapt, and survive against impossible odds. He had seen courage, ingenuity, and heart in action. And now, as the battle subsided, he reflected on everything he had learned. He thought of the first human he had truly noticed, the young soldier who led his team with quiet authority, guiding them through ambushes, traps, and chaos. That soldier had become more than a mere subject of observation. He was an example, a symbol of the human spirit Varkesh had begun to understand. The alien fleet had withdrawn for now, recognizing that repeated assaults were costly and ineffective. Varkesh knew that the humans would face future attacks, but he also knew that these humans would meet them with courage and strategy. They would survive, adapt, and perhaps even turn the tide against stronger foes. Varkesh descended closer to the human encampment. His sensors detected life everywhere. Soldiers training, civilians preparing meals, medics treating injuries, and children quietly helping where they could. There was an energy in the humans that no machine, no weapon, and no technology could replicate. He watched the young soldier instruct his team on defensive strategy for the next engagement. They were calm but focused, combining improvisation with careful planning. Broken vehicles were converted into barricades, ruined buildings were fortified, scavenged alien devices were repurposed. Every element of the city became part of their defense. Varkesh thought back to his own species' approach to warfare: order, precision, rigid hierarchy, and overwhelming firepower. Humans, by contrast, fought with flexibility, courage, and morality. They combined strategy with instinct, improvisation with learning, and bravery with compassion. Where his species valued efficiency, humans valued unity. Where his species relied on prediction, humans thrived in unpredictability. He remembered the civilians saved during the previous battle. Humans risked their lives to protect one another, showing courage that was not required by orders or duty. Their sense of responsibility extended beyond themselves. That moral dimension, Varkesh realized, was the true strength of human warfare. They fought not just to survive, they fought to protect, to preserve, and to defend ideals. As he recorded his observations, Varkesh felt something unexpected: admiration. He had come expecting to observe weakness, to confirm the superiority of his species. Instead, he found a species capable of inspiring awe, even fear, through spirit and determination alone. Humans were not merely resilient, they were extraordinary. The young soldier approached a group of new recruits, explaining tactics and improvisation techniques. Varkesh noticed how the recruits listened intently, learning from experience and example. Even those who had never fought before absorbed knowledge quickly, adapting to the unpredictable nature of battle. Human learning was rapid and practical, strengthened by courage and necessity. Varkesh considered his report. How could he describe this species accurately? Numbers, technology, and weaponry told only part of the story. The true measure of human warfare lay in heart, ingenuity, and moral courage. They were unpredictable, adaptable, and fearless. They could inspire one another to acts of extraordinary bravery. They could turn disadvantage into strength. A sudden noise pulled Varkesh's attention. A small alien reconnaissance unit had slipped into the city, unaware that the humans were prepared. The young soldier noticed immediately. With a subtle hand signal, he guided a small squad to intercept. Using shadows, rubble, and the element of surprise, they disabled the unit without loss of life. Varkesh watched, impressed. The humans had learned to use their environment, anticipate danger, and respond with precision, yet without the rigid methods of his own species. He realized that the unpredictability of human warfare was terrifying precisely because it could not be calculated. Algorithms, simulations, and rigid strategies were powerless against instinct, courage, and improvisation. The humans were not constrained by logic alone. They were guided by empathy, bravery, and a deep understanding of their environment. As the day progressed, Varkesh observed humans training and preparing for the future. Children carried supplies, civilians fortified buildings, and soldiers practiced maneuvers. Even in downtime, humans were learning, adapting, and improving. Every experience, every encounter, and every challenge made them stronger. Varkesh reflected on the battles he had witnessed. Each engagement had demonstrated something remarkable. Humans could survive impossible odds, think creatively, and protect each other in ways his species had never valued. They combined intellect and heart, strategy and instinct, courage and morality. In the hands of these warriors, weakness became strength, and limitation became opportunity. The young soldier gathered his team at sunset. They shared quiet moments of reflection, tending to injuries and reinforcing morale. They spoke of loved ones, of their hopes for the future, and of the next steps in defending their city. Varkesh watched silently, realizing that even in war, humans maintained hope. That hope, he knew, was as much a weapon as any rifle or trap. He recalled one soldier who had refused to leave a fallen comrade during a previous engagement. That act of bravery had saved not only a life, but also inspired the entire team. Human courage, Varkesh understood, was contagious. It spread quickly, lifting others and creating bonds that could not be broken by fear or loss. As night fell, the city was quiet, but not defeated. Fires smoldered, but humans continued to move, repair, and protect. Varkesh remained hidden, reflecting on everything he had observed. He realized that his species' concept of superiority was flawed. Technology, discipline, and firepower mattered. But courage, adaptability, and moral resolve mattered more. Humans embodied all of these qualities in a way that no alien army could anticipate or overcome. Varkesh considered his report to his superiors. How could he convey the truth without being dismissed as exaggerating? Humans were extraordinary, terrifying, and inspiring. Their warfare was not merely physical. It was emotional, psychological, and strategic. They fought not only for survival but for ideals, for each other, and for the hope of a future. He knew that any species underestimating humans would do so at its peril. They were fragile in appearance, yet indomitable in spirit. Their courage inspired one another. Their ingenuity turned scarcity into advantage. Their unity and morality strengthened them in ways technology could not replicate. In the quiet night, Varkesh watched the young soldier stand on a rooftop, looking toward the horizon. He was calm but alert, thinking of the battles to come. His team gathered around him, listening, learning, and preparing. Together, they embodied everything that made humans extraordinary: courage, resourcefulness, and unyielding spirit. Varkesh felt a change within himself. For the first time, he questioned the notion of superiority held by his species. He had been trained to see strength in weapons, numbers, and technology. Yet humans taught him a different lesson. Strength could also come from heart, mind, and moral courage. He wrote in his final observation, "Humans are remarkable. They are unpredictable, courageous, and morally driven. Their strength lies not in technology or numbers, but in ingenuity, adaptability, and unity. They fight not just to survive, but to protect and to preserve ideals. Any species underestimating them will face consequences beyond comprehension. Their warfare is terrifying, not because of power, but because of spirit." Varkesh realized that he had learned more from these humans than they could ever know. Their bravery, cleverness, and compassion had reshaped his understanding of battle. They were not merely survivors. They were exemplars of courage, intelligence, and resilience. The city lay quiet beneath the stars, yet Varkesh knew this was only temporary. The war would continue, new threats would arise, and the humans would face them with the same determination, ingenuity, and courage he had witnessed from the beginning. They would not yield easily. They would not be defeated easily. He activated his cloaking sensors and prepared to leave the city. His mission as an observer was complete, but the experience had changed him. Humans were no longer subjects of study. They were a benchmark of what courage and ingenuity could achieve. They were terrifying in a way his species had never encountered, and inspiring beyond measure. Before leaving, he allowed himself one final look at the young soldier and his team. They were tired, scarred, and battered, yet they stood with heads held high, ready to face whatever challenges came next. Varkesh felt a profound respect for them. They embodied everything that made humans extraordinary: heart, courage, and an unbreakable will. As he departed, Varkesh understood fully the truth of human warfare. It was terrifying, yes, but not for the reasons his people might expect. It was terrifying because humans combined intellect, morality, and courage in ways that no machine, tactic, or weapon could overcome. Their unpredictability, adaptability, and unity made them formidable in ways his species could scarcely comprehend. He recorded his final words, "I came to study weakness, expecting to observe inferiority. Instead, I have witnessed greatness. Humans fight with courage, think with clarity, and act with morality. They are terrifying, resourceful, and united. No force can predict them fully, and no technology can replace their spirit. This is the true reality of human warfare. Varkesh left the planet with a new understanding of strength, courage, and resilience. Humanity had redefined the meaning of warfare for him. In the battles ahead, whether he returned or not, he knew one truth would remain. Humans were extraordinary, terrifying, and unforgettable. And somewhere deep within, he admitted it to himself, quietly, without words. The human spirit was something his species could never conquer.